Welcome to the Marshall Pruitt podcast. Hello again, racing family, and hello. What do we call you? HSR President John Doonan. I still have you on my phone and as Mazda Motorsports Manager John Doonan, but I think your main day-to-day role, other than husband, father, and those things, IMSA President. John, thanks for joining us as always. Coming off of a good weekend last weekend, IMSA's annual kind of BOP type test, benchmarking test at Daytona, get a feel for cars, evolutions that they might have, bodywork changes, new models, and whatnot. I want to talk about that here in just a moment, but really wanted to open with regulatory news that I loved coming out of last weekend's event. New things published for 2026 of the things that I hear that we could call legitimate complaints from IMSA fans, some drivers, and you name it, is sometimes in these longer races, we can have a lot of cautions and really long cautions. So knowing that you receive that input, tweak to the rules, and I want to have you explain this to folks. This feels like a big thing.
Well, first of all, it's great to see you. Thanks for having me on. I don't think we've seen each other since we walked out of the media center at Motul Petit Le Mans. Great to see you, and thanks for having me. And you're right. I mean, number one, our goal every single weekend, every single season is to provide as much racing as we can, green flag racing, that is. And the beauty of what happened at the season finale at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta was that we had a huge portion of the race under green flag running, which I'm proud of. But there were moments in the 2025 WeatherTech SportsCar Championship that we didn't have so much green flag running. And for me and my teammates at IMSA, that's not delivering on the promise of giving people as much green flag running as we can. And that's what they're coming to the racetrack for. So we sat down, frankly, right after Road America and after a couple of those summer races and thought, what could we do? And if there is a caution of any kind in the first 30 minutes of the race, it will be a short caution, not the full process. And then after a restart, within 15 minutes, the same rule applies. It would be a short caution. Clearly, number one is safety. If we have, debris or track blockage, or we have to get safety vehicles to a particular location and we need to do a long caution, that will take priority. But, for our fans coming to the racetrack, watching on NBC, watching on Peacock, watching on YouTube around the world, we want to give them as much green flag running as we can. And I think this is a great step towards doing that when we have the large fields that we've been experiencing in the last number of seasons. I think it's important to take steps like this.
Speak a little bit more about this, John, because Watkins Glen comes to mind. It's torrential downpour and lightning, and then it's sunshine, and then it's rain, and it's all over the place. And so that race in particular, I know a lot of folks are really grumpy about how many cautions, the duration of cautions. In the normal full-length process, knowing that you're often running 4 classes, 2 classes of GTs, 2 classes of prototypes. You separate those two, you open up the pits, you run the prototypes through everybody, then they head out. Then you go through that same process with the GT cars. It's common then for folks to either get out of line or get shuffled a little bit. And so race control, everybody up there is trying to move folks around so the yellow extends even longer. Pit lanes, most places are not like Daytona International Speedway where you can fit a zillion cars all at once. So often you'll have to say, we're going to split the field. You'll get half this duration. Then the GTs will come in. So we understand some of the reasoning why the standard length full course caution can take a long time. But there is that, hey, we don't want fans to be buried in caution after caution, at least long ones. So we're going to close the pits. And no, we're trying to get back to green as quickly as we can. How do you run through that process with your race control team, your ops team, Johnny Knott's on pit lane and all of his pit lane techs? You got to get everybody. This isn't something you can just unilaterally decide. How do you go through talking with your people internally to say, hey, got an idea. How do we make this actually happen?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'm very blessed from the day I arrived at IMSA that I've got what I would consider the best set of motorsports professionals in the world doing this. You mentioned Johnny Knotts on pit lane. He and his staff are front and center when the cars come into the boxes. Race control, Paul Walter, Mark Raffoff, the experience that those two have, Bo Barfield, Simon Hodgson. We have an incredible group. I'll go down to Fallon Tucker and Jimmy Swintal, just to name a few, who are Lindsay Fox. They're calling out and managing these recovery efforts of cars that are in a tough position, and so the whole process does sometimes take longer than we would hope. But this crew has got it down to a science, and I think everybody seeing after Road America in particular, some of those cautions taking so long. It's obviously a long track, that one in particular. But even on some of the shorter tracks, just the absolute process of getting the prototypes through, getting the GT cars through, to your point, getting the pass arounds done, and doing the class splits so that when we come back to green, faster cars are in front and everybody can go back to racing. Obviously in this case, the latter part of that original rule doesn't change. So there is no final wave by. Let's go racing as soon as we get those things accomplished. I think everybody was unanimous in, at least on the IMSA side, let's give the fans back some more racing, whether it's in person or on TV, get the process done quickly, and get back to racing.
Let's talk about the Daytona test here that just went down. We've got Cadillac, beautiful GTP car, right? Some bodywork evolutions, Acura bodywork evolutions, BMW, smaller nostrils on the nose there, GTP wise. We've got the new Lamborghini, right? The Temerario there. We've got changes to a lot of models. You set up this test a few years ago, you and your staff there, Matt Kurdock, one of your big leaders there in the technical side, to learn about the cars, benchmark the cars, get to meet the new models coming in, some of the aero differences or otherwise, get to know them before the Roar, before the 24 in January, try and come up with a balance of performance table that works for everybody while getting to meet these new cars about 2 months or so before things really kick off. Try and come up with methods as well with how you run the tests, right? Make sure nobody's gaming the system too much. And, oh man, we're so slow. Look at the stopwatch. And you go, yeah, we just weighed your car. Why are you running with a full tank of fuel for this outing? So again, you're trying to be pretty smart here. How'd things go in general with the test? Are you pleased with what you learned? Any things that you want to learn a little more about?
Well, first of all, the good Lord blessed us with amazing weather all the days that we were there. So what I was so happy for is the teams got tons and tons of running, hundreds and hundreds of laps, which made me happy for them because they were running through a new look in some cases, new items underneath, part of the evolution process that is currently available in the LMDH regulations as well as
There's
GT.
a bunch of notes about splitters too. There's new splitters aplenty
All
and dive
kinds.
planes on and off. And
Yeah, cars top to bottom. But I think number one, we did set this test up years ago to get a read on balance of performance. I think it's evolved a bit to be not so much a balance of performance test, candidly. I think it was in the case of GTP, all four cars there had evolutionary elements on them. And in the case of the GT category, I think six cars have evolution packages on them. And so, in a lot of ways, it's hard to test at the World Center of Racing. The place is booked up all the time. And so, we've taken this opportunity to give the teams a chance to bring new elements of car, new elements of suspension, new elements of aero, and give them a chance to put it through its paces on the long run. And knock wood, we had maybe two or three red flags, which were mainly for electrical things that happened or cars, stopping and getting high-sided or something like that. But it was a very clean test. We've also segmented it into the first day was prototype only, GTP and LMP2. The next day was all classes, which was great. And then the prototype folks went home after night practice on Saturday, and the GT guys and gals had all day Sunday. So It was a very special test for me. I think the morale around the paddock and the garage area was really strong. And personally, I had many meetings, but I took some time to go out to the bus stop, which is now called Le Mans Chicane, on Saturday night. And I'll tell you what, those things going through there, that'll make your heart skip a beat. It reminded me why I love the sport so much and why I was, that little boy on the other side of the fence all the years growing up.
It's one of my favorite places to go, and it's
It's loaded up
removed enough from
there.
everything else to where it's just kind of feels like a private viewing, and they go flying through
Oh,
there. So let's talk about a few other related things. So next time we come back to do something major with the full field, that will be the Roar before the 24, then go straight into the Rolex 24. I had to grab a little model here of a Ferrari 333 SP. So drawing from the John Doonan HSR president side, yeah, IMSA, cool, whatever. I want to talk about vintage racing stuff, man. So last year, in January, this last season, there was the first time edition of a HSR event within the Rolex 24. Somewhat short, wasn't a huge field, bit of a test balloon. You learned a lot from that. And instead of saying, oh, it was cool, we tried it once, but no, you said we're going to do it again and we're going
go,
to do it even
go.
better. And I'm holding up this 333 SP for a reason because there should be at least one on the entry list. I don't know if I'm asking you to tell secrets, but at least for those of us who love historic racing, historic sports car racing, what are the plans for around the second installation of this come January?
Well, IMSA Classic is really at the heart of what HSR celebrates. It's a lot of IMSA history. It's now with NASCAR Classic, a lot of NASCAR history. But we are bringing back IMSA Classic to the 64th running of the Rolex 24 weekend. And we're taking a different tact. It'll be featuring cars with true Rolex 24 history from 1990 to 2010. So that 333 might just fit in that era. You might have some cars that come from the British arena, maybe ones that have a tiger, a jaguar, a lion, whatever, doing its leap. We're excited about the possibilities. I've heard about some, thundering Riley and Scott's possibly. But we want to have 20 cars, and I'm pretty confident based on early entries, we're going to have a 20 car field, 10 in the prototype area, and 10 in the GTs. And so we'll hopefully make some really special noise. And when we brought HSR into the IMSA family, we wanted to try to highlight our history, and I think the fans appreciated it last year. Tom Long brought the famous Mazda RX-7 GTO car home first overall, and I think you're going to see some and hear some exciting cars come Rolex Race Week.
GTP cars of my youth and yours, WSCs, GTO, hopefully some GTU is what, like, this sounds amazing. So I might just go home after that. Like, oh, you got a little 24-hour race? That's cute. I just got all I needed from this one here. A few other things, John. Why don't we talk about Truman Akin Award? We know that friends in Europe, obviously, FIA WEC, some evolution there. Porsche, for example, we at least know they've wound down their factory hypercar program with the 963. We know over here, though, we're still going to be getting the championship winning back-to-back Porsche Penske Motorsport entries. But as they figure out some things about Le Mans eligibility and things that don't really have anything to do with IMSA, you do have the Truman Akin Award and things that you want to do to support IMSA's champions to go over automatic invites for the Rolex 24. For the 24 hours of Le Mans. You talk about that a little bit because I know this is really important to you and your entrants, knowing that if they succeed here, getting to go play on the world stage as a prize. How are those talks been going with the ACO and WEC?
First of all, it's our relationship with Pierre Fion, Frederic Lequin, Richard Mille couldn't be stronger. We had a great meeting in September in Paris to talk about what the future looks like, which I left very full of energy because I believe, we've had a convergence since 2020. It's had some evolutions. Now we're looking down the road. But I also, one of the pillars of our strategic alliance agreement with the ACO is 3 invitations for entry to Le Mans. You already talked about the GTP program, and in the end, it's the ACO's decision relative to who gets the entry accepted, and that's related to their regulations and the top category. But when you focus on Trueman Akin, and you and I both have many memories of Jim Trueman and Bob Akin, 2 real sportsmen of our sport. They both didn't do that full time. They didn't race full time. They were successful businessmen away from the racetrack. And, you and I had the opportunity to induct Bob Akin into the IMSA Hall of Fame back right after the checkered flag flew at Petit. And Jim Trueman, of course, one of my boyhood heroes. And so to honor them through those awards, which the Trueman Award, of course, is for the top bronze champion in LMP2, the LMP2 champion. This year, of course, PJ Hyatt. And man, what PJ's done to develop himself into one of the best bronze drivers in the world. What he's built with AO Racing, with Gunnar Jeanette and Brian McKinley, and what they've done to captivate fans, both our current fans and a whole new breed of fans. Really proud of PJ and his Jim Trueman Award to go back to Le Mans in June. And then, of course, Ori Fadani, he's going to go back to back. I know he and Brendan Uribe had such an awesome battle, and my heart went out to Brendan, who was caught up in that first lap deal in the early part of Petit Le Mans. But Brendan gets to go back, or Ori Fadani gets to go back and fly the maple leaf flag again. And we certainly hope that they have good success over there. Special awards for special guys and their teams who've invested so much to be with us.
One of my favorite liveries of the year, that
Yeah.
maple livery from Andrew Wojteszko's team, the AWA team. Let's close on 1 or 2 other quick things, John. So you mentioned all the places where folks can watch IMSA. None of that's changing, right? You've got a long relationship, long deal with NBC. Peacock, obviously, where you can stream everything. Mention YouTube. I don't know if we talk about this enough. Head of Brandon Digital, Doug O'Donnell, yourself, others, really been a champion of saying, we want to make sure that our linear audience gets all the IMSA they want. You get that on TV, you can get that through streaming, through Peacock. There's probably a wider audience that might not be within the continental 48 that might want to get themselves some IMSA. So you started opening up YouTube really to the one make series first. There's Porsche, could be Ford, Miata, Mazda, lots of great options there, Lamborghini. Then you decided to start adding WeatherTech Championship. Was it 2 years ago? I think maybe at Sebring, where it
Yeah,
was like, hey,
we took a flyer at Sebring.
we're not telling anybody. This isn't like we're just going to turn it on and see who turns up. And the world turned up. This has been a huge part of IMSA's growth. I just want to keep asking you about this because it seems like it's constantly refreshing of itself. What do you look back on in terms of 2025 linear broadcast partnership and that growth, but also YouTube, social, embracing social, YouTube, particularly though, to really drive a lot of new folks to IMSA? Is it still working?
First of all, really proud of what YouTube has done. And we've surpassed 1 million subscribers back at Road America. Just this morning, we went through the data as a team, and we and the WEC are literally dead heat in the number of YouTube subscribers, I think at 1.1 million. And we're looking to maybe get to that 1.5 million come Rolex. That's the next milestone for the team and I. But it's been a really special addition to give fans around the world a view into the most international series in North America. That's what IMSA is, the biggest international series in North America. And it allows fans, no matter where they are around the world, to watch live and flag to flag IMSA WeatherTech races. Now, thanks to Michelin pilot races are available there. And then, of course, You wait a few days after the actual race weekend and after the broadcast, everything. And you mentioned single makes are available on IMSA YouTube. So that's been a great addition. I think it's also given us a huge boost thanks to Win the Weekend. We'll be entering season 4 in 2026. Those docu series, snackable episodes that is Win the Weekend. That's been a great boost. Also, thanks to Michelin and putting the WeatherTech Championship on more people's minds. So, we did take a flyer on YouTube, but I think it was after some really strategic thinking by Ed Bennett, myself, and our board. Do you do an app? Do you charge, viewers for an app to be able to see the races? And our thought was, look, we have a tremendous partnership with NBC. We honor that, but we give people outside the U.S. this really special opportunity, and that's what it's turned into. As you know, on the linear side, we had a great season, up 70% year over year in average viewership, which is something we're incredibly proud of. And I think, and
That's ridiculous.
we talked about this. We talked about this at. It is ridiculous, but in a good way. We talked about this at State of the Sport. There is another stat that really hit me right in the heart, actually, and that is that the 18 to 34 audience on linear, not on streaming, on linear, is up 11%. That tells me that there's little Marshall Pruitts and little Johnny Doonans running around that, you and I were waiting weeks to watch TNN IMSA races. There's a next generation audience, and it just gave me chills, that is looking forward to seeing IMSA races and tuning in. And for that, I'm super excited about what the future holds. Of course, early January, we're going to have the 2026 season preview show on NBC Network, and you're going to see a bunch of network shows. You're going to see a bunch of Peacock shows. And of course, outside the U.S., check out YouTube.
I don't know if I've ever been little or you've been little, so that's cute, Doonan. But at least it's a little bit of revisionist history there.